Welcome to the Commvault channel. In our previous video, we started discussing deduplication engines. We covered the monitoring and synchronize all DDBs. In this video, we will continue discussing the other options. Please like, share, comment, or suggest. Subscribe for more videos, and you can follow us on Instagram. Let's start with Disk Pool for Global Deduplication Policy. The Global Deduplication Policy enables deduplication across multiple storage policies that use a common set of disk libraries and deduplication databases. You can create a global deduplication policy using a disk network storage pool or cloud network storage pool. After creating a global deduplication policy, you can create a storage policy or a storage policy copy and assign it to a global deduplication policy. You also get the option to create the disk pool when you create a first storage policy in the COMSEL. Network storage pool is a global storage policy that provides a scalable and easy-to-configure storage solution. The storage pool offers easy storage management. Multiple cross-platform media agents can access a shared storage pool. The one we have is a disk storage pool, but you can create a cloud and tape storage pool as well. By the way, tape storage pool does not support deduplication. The disk pool summary is useful to monitor the deduplication savings across multiple storage policy copies in the COMSEL and the amount of data written on the disk after deduplication. You can also view the total application size, that is the front-end data, along with the retention days and cycles. Charts. Here you have two graphs. The data written by storage policy copy graph displays the amount of application data and the data written on a disk. The deduplication savings by DDB graph displays the amount of savings of each DDB, including sealed DDB, for that storage policy copy. The databases table provides the following information. Deduplication engine name is the name of the deduplication database. Creation time is the date and time when the deduplication database was created for that storage policy copy. Baseline size is the estimated size that is required on the disk for backup data when the existing deduplication database is sealed. Total application size is the size of the backed up data before deduplication. Total data size on disk is the amount of deduplicated data that was written on the disk. Deduplication savings is the amount of deduplication savings by a storage policy copy. Number of partitions is the total number of partitions that are configured on the deduplication database. Average Q&I time is the average time, in microseconds, that was taken for insertion and query of signature in the deduplication database. Total number of unique blocks is the number of unique blocks that are managed by the DDB for that storage policy copy. Dependent copies information provides below information. The name of the deduplication database. The storage policy configured to use this DDB. The primary or secondary copy configured to use this DDB. The size of the backed up data before deduplication. The amount of deduplication savings by a storage policy copy. The total number of jobs that ran via the storage policy copy and are on this DDB. You can access the disk pool from a different place as well. Expand storage pool and you see the disk pool under it. Expand disk pool. Under disk pool, you see the deduplication engine and storage entities. Expand deduplication engines. You see the global deduplication policy, which is same as above, is listed here. Expand storage to see the disk library that is configured for the global deduplication policy. Click on the deduplication database, disk pool _files_1. The unique ID given to this DDB is 1. Use this window for monitoring the deduplication database. The deduplication database properties provides the following information: the name of the DDB, the date and the time that the DDB was created, the version of the DDB, which appears only when there are jobs run against the storage policy copy that hosts the DDB, the number of partitions that are configured on this DDB, the size of the backed up data before deduplication, that is the front-end size, the amount of deduplicated data that is written on the disk, the percentage of savings after deduplication, the number and percentage of unique blocks that are managed by the DDB, the data size of the unique blocks. Number of pending prunable records is the number of job records, or data chunks, that are aged, but not completely pruned from the disk. Each backup job can be one or more chunks. When the number of aged job records reach the threshold, that is 10,000 or more, then the space reclamation of aged data on a disk is falling behind, or slow. The total number of jobs that ran against the storage policy copy that is associated with the DDB. The estimated baseline size that is required on the disk for backup data when the existing DDB is sealed. Average Q&I time across partitions in last 3 days is the number and percentage of the average query and insertion time in microseconds for the past 3 days across the DDB. The threshold value of the average Q&I time is 2000 microseconds. When the average Q&I time for the past 3 days of a DDB reaches 70% or 90% of the threshold, an event message marked with major and critical severity is displayed in the event viewer window. Do note, if the values go above the thresholds, then you might experience an issue where storage policy is not accepting new sub-clients due to DDB performance constraints, that is, you cannot assign new sub-clients to the storage policies that use the DDB. However, backups continue for the current sub-clients associated with the storage policy. The average Q&I time for the past 3 days is calculated as the 3-day median Q&I time value. When fewer Q&I operations performed on a DDB, the value for the average Q&I time across partitions in last 3 days parameter might appear as 0. This 0 value for Q&I time indicates that there is not enough activity by the DDB to properly determine the DDB performance. Average Q&I time across partitions in last 14 days is the number and percentage of the average Q&I time in microseconds for the past 14 days across DDB partitions. The average Q&I time for the past 14 days is calculated as the 14-day median Q&I time value. The amount of free space available on the library that is associated with the storage policy copy. The number of active job streams using the DDB. The status of the physical pruning for the DDB if enabled, or disabled. 200 is the maximum allowed connections for this DDB. The last data verification job that ran for the DDB. The last DDB verification job ran for existing jobs on disk. If garbage collection enabled or disabled, which help optimizing the deduplicated database pruning. You can use Convert DDB to V5 workflow to configure the garbage collection feature, which optimizes DDB performance by reducing DDB disk I/O during data pruning. If pruning logs for reconstruction is enabled or disabled. The charts contain the following information. The DDB statistics graph displays daily statistical details of the DDB, such as the number of unique and secondary blocks that are written to DDB, and the number of blocks that are ready to be pruned. This graph helps you to monitor backup, pruning activity, and data growth across all partitions of the DDB. The DDB size graph displays the amount of space that is used, and the free space that is available on the DDB disk or volume. The deduplication savings by DDB graph displays the amount of deduplication savings. Partitions table. This table displays the number of partitions that are configured on this DDB. The name of the media agent. The partition's path. The average query and the insertion time. The size of the DDB path. The number of unique blocks that are managed by the partition. The free space available on the partition disk. The last DDB backup time. The DDB backup job ID. The status of the partition, and the maximum archive file count in the secondary object. DDB statistics table across partitions. This table displays the number of unique and secondary blocks that are managed by all partitions of the DDB, and the number of blocks that are ready to be pruned. We will end this video here and discuss the other options in our next video. Please hit the like button if you like this video, and subscribe to our channel if not already done so. Thank you. Do subscribe for more videos.